Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, with Jason showing up as a playable character in Multiversus, the Jason universe finally producing something substantial with their Sweet Revenge short film, and the Crystal Lake TV show coming soon, I think it's safe to say that Friday the 13th is re-emerging into pop culture in a slow but effective way. Don't get me wrong, a character slot in a defunct game and an Angry Orchard ad isn't exactly top tier advertising, but then again, we also have the insane Jason Universe haunted house at Universal Halloween Horror Nights this year, so I'd say 50-50 on promotion. All of this recent content made me start to really think about Jason's place in the video game landscape, because while the movies have been going through hell since 2009, Jason has had a pretty healthy history when it comes to video games. Of course, there's the infamous NES game with good old Purple Jason, which has made numerous cameos in multiple future games, but he's also been a guest playable character in Mortal Kombat X, there's of course his Multiversus appearance, and in terms of fan content, he was the only character with two separate playable versions of himself in Terrordrome. There's even a fan mod for the indie game Friday Night Funkin' that gives Jason his own playable level. And of course, there is the best Friday the 13th game, and it's not the more well-known one made by Ilphonic. I heavily respect and admire Friday the 13th the game. After all, this was the game that proved that Dead by Daylight doesn't have to be the only horror asymmetrical video game. But considering the ridiculous amount of bugs and the unfortunate halting of content due to the long-running copyright lawsuits between Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller, it's not what I consider to be the best game the series has. It's a shame that it went out the way it did. I still really love returning to it every now and then. Maybe if the bugs were more ironed out and support continued, it would have been number one. But to me, the best game the series has ever had is Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle. Killer Puzzle is such an underrated gem that never really got its time in the limelight, and today I plan to rectify this. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. The support means so much to me. Comment down below which Friday the 13th film is your favorite. With all them being so different, I'd be interested in seeing what people like best. With that out of the way, let's jump into Killer Puzzle and talk about why it deserves the title of the best Friday the 13th game. Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle was developed by Blue Wizard Digital and released on January 20th, 2018 in the United States and worldwide later that year on April 13th. While it's primarily designed for mobile phones, it was also available on Steam, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. The version I'm using for footage is the mobile version, since that's the only version I have. Before Killer Puzzle, Blue Wizard Digital was known for creating Slayaway Camp, which was an isometric puzzle game where you play as a horror movie slasher hunting down unsuspecting victims. The game did very well across all platforms, but it definitely felt ill-defined. I played it myself for the first time recently, and I understand why people are mixed on it. Slayaway Camp plays well, and the puzzles are fun, but it gets repetitive very fast. The controls don't feel as snappy as they should. It's a bit clunky to maneuver around as the killer, but it's far from a bad game. The slasher selection is fun, the puzzles are well made, but the art style is what really sells it. Slayaway Camp has a very unique, simplistic, blocky art style that gives the game a unique visual identity. So many modern horror games go for the realistic angle, so to see one jump all in on simplistic graphics is a nice change of pace. And all of these things put together is what eventually landed Blue Wizard to make a deal with New Line Cinema to create a similar game with the Friday the 13th license. To this day, Killer Puzzle is Blue Wizard's only licensed game, and boy did they knock it out of the park. Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle shares a lot of the same design as Slayaway Camp. You play as Jason Voorhees as he hunts down his victims by sliding around isometric puzzles. While the simplistic model concept was kept from its predecessor, Killer Puzzle decided to shake up its art style by leaving behind the blocky models and scenery and instead being more inspired by chibis. The victims in this game are heavily exaggerated to have big heads and small bodies, while Jason himself is built like a brick wall with a tiny little head. I find them all to be really cute in their own way. Killer Puzzle's gameplay is a little different than most other isometric puzzle games you might have seen before. To first explain what an isometric puzzle game actually is, it's a video game, which originated in 2D but is now just as common in 3D, that's played at an angle and uses a fixed grid for alignment. This setup is meant to give a sense of depth to the player and allow for more intricate puzzles to be designed by the developers. Killer Puzzle uses this layout to make a simplistic game with endless amounts of depth. When you move Jason, he will slide to whatever direction you choose until he either hits a wall or hits a victim. If he hits a wall, no biggie, you just choose another direction to slide to next. But hitting a survivor means you will be in a spot that you normally can't get to, meaning you usually have to kill survivors in a certain order to finish the level. As the levels progress, you'll also find a ton more obstacles to overcome, such as police officers that arrest you if you stop in their sight, cats that you cannot kill and have to scare away, lake water that you can't slide into or else you drown, lights that can be turned on and off so victims can't see you, and so much more. It makes all the levels feel so varied and unique, and avoided the repetitiveness that plagued Slayaway Camp. After all the survivors are cleared out, you then enter Final Victim mode. This final victim will only appear if everyone else is cleared out. The announcement will actually change depending on the level and who the final victim is. Here are some of my personal favorite callouts.
Final boy, final girl, final convict, final punk, final freak.
Once you close in on that victim, you then enter a minigame where you have to stop a skull in the kill zone. If you miss, the victim will dodge and you lose the minigame. But if you hit that kill zone, you get a special kill animation with whatever weapon Jason is using. And because this has such a simplistic art style, most of these kills are more goofy than gross or scary. There are some absolutely absurd kills, man. I enjoy these much more than the more graphic ones in the console game. And speaking of these kills, we can finally start to talk about a big reason why I love this game: content. A big draw of Killer Puzzle is its unlockable content. You can of course unlock episodes which house more levels, but by playing the game you can also unlock new playable Jasons and new weapons to use. To unlock new weapons, you simply have to complete levels. Once you do this, a meter will fill up called Bloodlust, which is in the shape of Jason's mask. You can get the most Bloodlust by completing a new level and winning the Final Victim minigame. You still get Bloodlust for completing already beaten levels, but it's significantly less than you would get from a new level, and there's even less if you fail the Final Victim minigame. Once the Jason mask has been filled up, the eyes will flash white and you'll be gifted a weapon crate. Once you open it up, you'll get 2 brand new weapons for your arsenal. The game does have a duplicate system, but if that happens, you can easily trade your weapons for something better in the weapon select menu. There are kills shared between the weapons, but most of them are completely brand new. My personal weapon of choice is the Golden Chainsaw, baby. Dead Meat fans know what's up. The way you unlock new Jasons is a little different. Every time you kill a victim in a new level, you'll see a number go up. This is your body count, and you can check it at any time in the episode select screen. Unlocking new Jasons and episodes is dependent on how large your body count is. You don't need to complete all the levels in an episode to unlock the next one, you just have to hit the required threshold. The same goes for Jasons, just hit the threshold and boom, a new version of your favorite lean, mean killing machine is available. And now that I've explained how to unlock new content, let's talk about how much there actually is to unlock, because good lord, man! 21 playable Jasons with 13 allowing you to take off the hockey mask as an extra customization option, 120 weapons available to unlock through Bloodlust crates, and over 100 playable levels, not counting the DLC packs. There is so much content in this game, it's insane. A lot of this is attributed to the fact that Killer Puzzle mostly focused on creating their own unique Jason designs, goofy levels where Jason never got to go in the films, and as you can probably tell, they also got much sillier with the weapons. The console game, on the other hand, wanted to focus on adding Jasons and weapons from the different films. The only playable Jasons we actually have from the films in Killer Puzzle are Part 6 Zombie Jason, Part X Uber Jason, Part 2 Baghead Jason, and of course the classic Part 3 Jason. Almost all the other designs are completely original, and I gotta say, they're pretty cool. I'd love to see some of these designs make their way into future projects. I would also say Killer Puzzle is one of the most accessible puzzle games I've found as well. While the kills in this game are a bit too goofy to be considered gross to me personally, if you're not a fan, you can head over to the extras menu and switch on the PG mode. This will make the kills you perform in-game all have a silly white poof effect instead of blood splatters, and final victim kills are replaced with bare-handed ones that aren't quite as violent. Another helpful accessibility feature is the head of Mrs. Voorhees. Jason's mom Pamela appears as a little helper character. She usually gets a line before each of the levels, either giving you tips on how to overcome new obstacles, or just having a funny mom quote. I love how Jason's response in his head is just, right mom, sorry mom, okay mom. Again, just a bit more goofiness that makes this game so fun. Pamela does have another feature though. You can tap on her head to give you a hint on how to beat each level. No ad watching or currency required, and the game doesn't hold your hand either. The tip she gives is usually just enough to give you an idea on how the puzzle starts or is meant to end, but it doesn't give you the full answer. I never found myself already knowing how to beat the level from any of her clues, which is a good thing. I like that the game gives you the option of a hint at no cost to you, while also not giving away the answer. It keeps the puzzles fun to figure out and less frustrating if you're stuck. And this isn't really an accessibility feature, but if you go to the settings screen, you can find a button with Jason's famous soundbite, and when you click it, yeah, this is cute. I like this. It serves no purpose, but I like it. Killer Puzzle is just filled with goofy, silly things like this. Buttons with the Kiki Mamama soundbite, typical son responses to your mom, wacky Tom and Jerry special effects. The game doesn't take itself seriously, because, let's be real, the movies didn't really take themselves seriously either. And it's this charm that just makes me love this game more. And what's even crazier is that there is even more content to explore. On top of everything we've talked about, Killer Puzzle also has 2 extra modes you can play if you've finished all the other levels the game has to offer: Daily Death and Murder Marathon. Murder Marathon is pretty simple. You're just thrown into continuous final victim minigames and try to land the kill zone as many times as you can in a row. The weapon you're using changes for every kill, so things are kept pretty fresh. If you land 20 in a row, you get to unlock a new original Jason for free. Butcher Jason. I never managed to get him, unfortunately. Definitely the coolest part of this though is the song that plays in the background, titled I Can't Stop Killing by the Jasons. Daily Death is where things get more interesting. Every day there's a brand new puzzle that's released for you to take on. They're only available for one day, and from what I understand, there doesn't seem to be repeat puzzles. I'm unsure how they coded this. Either they create a brand new puzzle every day from scratch, or there's something that generates them? I'm unsure, but it's nice that even after you've completed everything, there's still more levels for you to take on. You just have to wait a day between them. The reward for this mode is awesome too. If you get a 13-day constant streak of completing these daily deaths, you unlock Ghost Jason. This design was featured in the Never Hike Alone fan trilogy created by Womp Stomp Films. It is the first time the franchise has ever acknowledged a fan creation in an official game. It's awesome to see, and the way they adapted the Jason design is incredible too. This one I did manage to unlock and even recorded. I'm glad I have him, he looks great. Killer Puzzle is one of my favorite puzzle games, and by far what I consider to be the best Friday the 13th game. It has oodles of content, fun gameplay, lots of replayability, and it's such a love letter to the franchise, which makes what I'm about to talk about next sting a little more. You see, while Killer Puzzle did very well across all platforms and is one of Blue Wizard Digital's best-selling games, it too was caught in the crossfire of the Friday the 13th lawsuit involving Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller. Because of this, Killer Puzzle had very limited content updates after its release, while the console game ceased content updates altogether in 2018. In January of 2023, Blue Wizard Digital announced that Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle would be delisted from all storefronts on the 23rd of that month. Because there was no physical release, there is no way to currently play this game legally unless you downloaded it beforehand. That also means if you own the game but not the DLC, there is also no way to buy it and complete the game. That's the situation that I'm currently in. I was lucky to keep the download of the game on my phone, as you can see here, but I never had it on Steam or any of my consoles, and I never owned any of the DLC, which really sucks. Just like the console game, Killer Puzzle deserved better. It was a tightly made game designed by people who had such high appreciation and love for the series. I recently got back into playing it these last couple months during my free time, and it hit me just how well made this game is. It sucks because I might never get a chance to experience the DLC or play the game on my consoles. On the bright side, at least I can continue to play Daily Death and play through the levels I do still have access to, but I wish this game was more accessible in the modern day. I mean, there technically is a way to play the game. Let's just say that Foxy the Pirate would be proud if you go down that road. If you're looking for fun alternatives, there is the original Slayaway Camp, but I would actually recommend the sequel more. Slayaway Camp 2 improves on a lot of the issues the first game had, and I think it was worth the price. While it doesn't have the Friday the 13th license and the gameplay is a bit different, it's still super fun. Or if you want something a bit more relaxing, I actually worked on an isometric puzzle game called Garden of Towsy. I did the textures for the controls, the design of level 3, and I wrote the entire story. It's a super chill game, and I'm pretty proud of my work on it. It's only $1 on Steam if you want to give it a shot. The links to all 3 can be found in the description below. Overall, I miss this game. I still find it super fun to go back to and play every now and then, and I wish it didn't have to go out the way it did. Killer Puzzle deserved much better than it got. I hope one day the new Jason universe makes a deal with Blue Wizard Digital to bring it back. If not, here's at least hoping the next Friday the 13th game can capture this one's charm. Regardless, I'll continue to play this game as long as I can, and enjoy the love that was built into it. And so, that pretty much wraps up why I consider Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle to be the best Friday the 13th game ever made. Thank you so much for watching. I wanted to shake things up with this video and try to cover something a bit different from my FNAF content. I hope it was still enjoyable. Thank you so much for supporting me. I promise the next video will be FNAF related. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and like the video. If we get to around 200 likes, I'll do a video like this for Friday the 13th, the game that released on consoles sometime in the future. And of course, I hope to see some comments on why you like one Friday movie over another. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye bye!